Hey YouTube, this is Tom at TM Aquatics, and I hope everyone's doing great. It's been a couple of weeks since I uploaded my last video to the YouTube platform, but real life just got very busy. I've had little time for the fish room and no time for making and uploading videos. But we're going to change that today. I'm going to take everyone around the fish room, get you caught up to speed on everything happening here at TM Aquatics. Now before we do that, I want to talk about this past weekend. This past weekend was a great fishy weekend. Starting out with Saturday, my local fish club, the Minnesota Aquarium Society, had its winter auction. Now this event was originally scheduled for a date back in January, but due to a winter storm, they had to postpone and reschedule, and I'm glad they did. You see, this past Thursday night, we had a fish club meeting, and the fish club brought in a special guest speaker, LRB Aquatics, Lucas Bretz. Now I wasn't able to attend that event due to other commitments, so I thought I missed out on my opportunity to meet Lucas in person. But as it turns out, he showed up at our fish club auction on Saturday. I was able to meet Lucas, we had a great conversation, and the auction itself turned out to be a smashing success. Then on Sunday, I attended my first ever Quad Cities Fish Swap in Davenport, Iowa. But not just as a hobbyist, I attended as a vendor. Now I wasn't sure I was even going to make it down there this Sunday. You see, we had another winter storm. We're talking 8 to 10 inches of snow. Now normally the drive is about 5 hours and 15 minutes, but it took us 7 hours to get there. So you can imagine, it turned it into a very, very long day. But I'm glad we went. We had a great time, sold a lot of fish, and a lot of subscribers stopped by to introduce themselves, and I appreciate each and every one of you that did. Had a great time. Did learn something though, when you attend these events as a vendor, doesn't leave you a lot of time to go out and shop for goodies for yourself. But I did manage to score a couple of things. I'll show you those later on in the video. But anyways, we've got a lot to talk about. I hope you stick around and check this one out. Alright YouTube, we're starting out here in the rec room with this 75-gallon tank. I talked about converting this into a Corydoras tank in one of my more recent uploads. Sadly, I have not had a lot of time for fish stuff lately, so you can see this tank has not yet been converted into a Corydoras tank. But it is one of my top priorities that I want to have completed in the very, very near future and get these L494s moved out of here. But time has just not been my friend lately, but just wanted to point that out in case you were curious. The other tank that I keep out here in the rec room is my 120-gallon red Severum tank. A little bit of bad news to report. I did have 6 big red Severums in here. I now have 5 big red Severums. I lost one of these big fish here about a week and a half ago. Really disappointing. It was very hard for me. Not sure what hit that fish, but whatever it was, it came on fast, came on hard, and took that fish's life in a matter of about 72 hours. Now the fish started breathing a little different, shaking its head, breathing kind of heavy, acting as though maybe it had an irritation with its gills. So my first thought was gill fluke, so I treated the tank with Prazipro. No other signs were obvious in the tank, or the fish wasn't displaying any other signs. The next day his belly started to swell up a little bit. I decided to put Epsom salt in the tank, thinking that maybe he had an intestinal blockage of some type. The Epsom salt didn't work. After 24 hours in Epsom salt, I decided to move the fish into quarantine and proceeded to treat him with Canaplex. The Canaplex had no effect, and then the very next morning the fish was deceased. So whatever it was, it came on fast and it didn't take long, and it's the first time I've lost a really big fish like this since I kept discus years and years and years ago. Never easy when you lose any fish, but when you have fish of this size that really develop personalities that are pretty individual to the fish, and they get this large and you've had them for a few years, it's a hard loss. But it does come with the hobby. Anybody that says they've never lost a fish has never kept fish. But anyways, it is what it is. Enough on that. But just full transparency, it happens to everybody, including myself here at TM Aquatics, and just something I wanted to share with you. So back here in the fish room, got a lot of things going on. Down here I pulled out a bunch of Java moss. This is where I keep my Corydoras cycries and my Corydoras venezuelanus. Sometimes these are marketed and sold as Corydoras venezuelan orange. They're just Corydoras venezuelanus. The orange is just kind of more or less a marketing ploy to sell fish, but there's only one species of Corydoras venezuelanus. These have really gotten pretty dark on me. They really don't display a lot of that orange coloration anymore. Not sure I'm really liking them as much as I did when they were a little bit younger. Not sure if I want to dedicate an entire tank to them, so I am thinking or considering about getting rid of the Corydoras venezuelanus, or Corydoras venezuelanus quote-unquote orange. But anyways, enough on that. Up above, clear out a bunch of guppy grass sold in our club auction this past weekend, and when I did so, I noticed, or I saw, 2 red coral pencilfish fry. I always suspected I had more than one, but I was able to confirm it. There's one there. And if we look around, we might be fortunate enough to see the other one. Oh, over here. Here's the other one. So we definitely have 2 red coral pencilfish fry. I haven't seen any more. They're starting to look a little bit more like the parents now. Well, I didn't plan or intentionally try to spawn them. It just kind of happened in this tank, but super cool. The male did kill off another female, but the male himself, I think, is not doing too well right now. A couple of these females have actually just been hammering on him, so I don't know what he said to them, but whatever it was, they didn't like it. Hopefully he rebounds, but anyways, just wanted to point that out. Up above here is where I keep my group of 8 L236s, and then I have 4 L46 zebra plecos that I picked up from Jeremy Bash at Cataclysm. I'm thinking about moving those L46 zebras in with my adults. These fish here have been showing a lot of interest in caves lately, which is good news, or exciting for me anyways. My absolute all-time favorite fish, the L46 zebra, but I think we have enough room here, and I think maybe it's time to move those youngsters over here. And I really want this tank. I want to reclaim this for some Corydoras. Still don't know what I'm going to do with my L236. My L236 are just basics. They're not the RB line or super whites or anything like that. They may carry the RB line. I'm not sure. They're from Belen's, from Cataclysm. Belen's was the supplier of these fish. They may or may not carry the RB line, but still really nice looking fish, and need to figure out what I'm going to do with them. At our recent club auction, I did sell 3 L333s. They were L333s that did not have very good patterns. They weren't very desirable patterns. So I dumped those 3 off at our local club auction. They're still good fish. They just didn't have the patterns that I'm looking for. And I did pick up some additional 333s from one of my LFSs. I traded some green laser Corydoras. And I was really interested in these 2 here. I ended up grabbing a 3rd one in hindsight. I probably shouldn't have, because this guy up here really isn't anything special. These 2 here are very nice looking L333s. Got some really nice patterns on them, and they're pretty small. They're about 2 inches, but absolutely beautiful L333s. I'm actually they just got pulled out of a 10-gallon quarantine tank, and they are acclimating to this 40 long, and they'll be introduced to this 40 long here in just a couple of minutes. But real nice looking L333s. He had a couple others. We just couldn't net them out, and there were a ton of decorations in the tank. And but glad to add these 2, or at least these 3, but really these 2. I'm really glad to add these 2 to my line of L333s. But anyways, enough on that. Now over here on the grow out rack down here, I did have all of these green lasers bagged up for the fish swap, the Quad City fish swap. Sadly, we didn't sell them all. We did sell quite a few green lasers, but not all. Had to bring these back. Still have 40 or 50 of this size. I am thinking about possibly starting to ship just so I can clear these out. I'm kind of getting overrun with green laser Corydoras at the moment. Probably have 200 of them in the fish room right now. Would like to get rid of a few, so I might do kind of like a blue light special on these and start shipping. Don't know if I would only offer them with overnight shipping and just kind of build it into the cost and reduce the price of each fish so that it makes it something that's of interest to most people. We'll see. Next door to this tank here, I'm just kind of cleaning this, ran some hydrogen peroxide through this tank, resetting it, going to be moving some different fish into this tank. Over here I picked up some fish at the swamp this past weekend. You can see that fish that was darting towards the back there. That fish was actually given to me by Mike. Not going to mention any last names due to privacy, but Mike, thank you very much. These are Limia nigrofasciatas, the humpback limias. I've never kept limias in this fish room before. Mike was kind enough to give me a pair. I'll make sure that I have plenty of hiding places for the female in case that male decides to harass her a little bit. Then the Corydoras that was in here, you might be able to see that Corydoras up there on the Java moss. That is a Corydoras axelrodi, and I actually bought these from Mike, the same person, and I added 12 of them. So they're in this tank here with the limias. They're kind of going through a quarantine process. I'm not medicating, I'm just observing, so they'll stay in here for a few weeks. I know Mike keeps top-notch first-class fish room, so I'm not worried about these fish carrying anything bad, but just for safety purposes, they're going to stay in this tank for a few weeks just for observation. But these Corydoras axelrodi are absolutely beautiful little Corydoras. In fact, that is the thumbnail for this video. So if you missed it, go back, check out the thumbnail, but not until this video is over. Alright, and over here on the double 75s, this top tank here, this I just got done working on it, so the water's a little stirred up and cloudy. Added a couple of caves, added a little more slate, moved some plants around. This is the tank I plan to move the L494s into. Still have a little more thinking to do on that. I'm not sold on it 100%. I did pick up some more caves at the fish swamp this past week. I wish I would have picked up a few more. I picked up this 2-inch D cave here, this 2-inch D cave over here, and then I did pick up a couple of 2-inch square caves and plan to put those in with the L333s later. But the tank is staying a lot cleaner now that I removed all that driftwood and all the plants. It's a lot cleaner. I'm going to still do a big water change on this tank tonight. This is where I have my L264 salt and plecos. There's one right there. Not sure where the rest of them are at, but they're in there. But the tank's coming along, but it's not a completed project yet, so stay tuned on this. Alright, so on this rack here, we have a lot of things going on. We'll go ahead and start out down here on these bottom tanks. Now in this 5-gallon tank, I'm growing out some L134 leopard frog plecos. They're doing really good. There's one in here that just has a really cool, unique pattern. I'll definitely be holding on to that fish for my own personal collection. But they're doing really good. Over here in this tank next to them, I have a bunch of green laser Corydoras. I also had the Corydoras duplicarius that I picked up from my brother. I did move them up here into their own tank. So the Corydoras duplicarius are now up here growing out. There's 10 of them. 10 Corydoras duplicarius in here. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous little Corydoras. Then down in this tank here, the lighting and the reflection is horrible for this tank. Very, very hard to get this on video. And the glass is dirty, as you can see. But I did pick up some new fish, some new dithers here from my LFS a few weeks ago. These are Daisy's blue rice fish. I was hoping to pick some up from Pam at 54 Punchy. That's her YouTube channel. I think she changed it here recently, Punchy Paints, I believe. But anyways, my LFS had a bunch in. It didn't involve shipping. Got a really good price on them, so I picked up 10 of them. Really cool, interesting little fish. I do plan to spawn a bunch of these and spread them through my fish room and add these as dithers, or use these in dithers in many of my Corydoras tanks. But the Daisy's blue rice fish, super cool little fish. Over here, the L260 tank, the L260 fry are still doing extremely well. Again, there's 9 of them now in this fry box, and then one escapee is usually down in here somewhere. Have 10 of them, but again, one escaped. But I'm thinking about moving them out of the fry box and putting them up into this tank here. It's cycled, it's ready to go. So I think I'm going to move them up into that fry box tonight. Now down here in this 40 breeder, I should say, no more spawns from the L260s themselves. A male did have a female trapped a couple days ago. False alarm, nothing became of it. I didn't find any eggs in there, so I don't know if they spawned or if he was down here in this square cave. Don't know if maybe he ate the eggs, but so far they haven't eaten any eggs. So I just think it was maybe a false alarm. Up here, my CW49s had an unfortunate situation here a couple weeks ago. I was doing a head count. I had a fish missing. Ended up finding that fish. I took this box filter out to add a no clog air stone, because the air stones that come with these filter boxes are just horrible. So I bought some no clog air stones from Ken's Fish, took the filter box out, and I found the missing Corydoras. She swam down the uplift tube there, got stuck in there, and sadly passed away. I never saw it. That's really unfortunate, because these are not the easiest Corydoras to find, nor are they the cheapest, usually running anywhere between $20 to $30 a piece. Next door, my Corydoras equus, no spawning yet. These are a tough one. Many Corydoras experts have been challenged getting these Corydoras equus to spawn. Right now I'm doing a simulated dry period. I'm not doing any water changes, very light feedings for about 6 weeks, followed by one massive cold water change, massive water change, and black worms to see if that triggers. If not, well, at least we tried. But they're doing really well. I did add one more male because my male-female ratio is a little off kilter. With Corydoras, it's always better to have more males than females, which is kind of counterintuitive to what you've always been told and what you kind of think. But you want more males than females with Corydoras. Phil, our good buddy at Tamed Waters, brought in another batch of equus. I did pick up one more male from him. I now have 20 fish in this tank, 20 equus in this tank. I think the ratio is either 10 to 10 or 11 females and 9 males. Not quite the ratio I want, but it is what it is. I do plan to remove a bunch of the Java moss in here to free up some swimming space. I'll either remove this big chunk over here or this chunk here, add it to some of these additional grow out tanks up above. Now up above here, we looked at the Corydoras duplicarius. This tank here is now empty. I had those L333s in there. We have a bunch of green lasers in this tank here. Again, I'll be moving those bigger L260 in this tank. And then in this tank here, I need to take one of the filters out of this tank here, drop it in here, and I plan to split this group of fish up here. This is where I have that big spawn from my L134 leopard frog plecos, and there's a whole bunch of queen arabesque fry in here, like 17 queen arabesque and 50 L134 leopard frog plecos. So there's a lot of money in this tank, and I really want to spread that out in case there's any issues. So we're going to go ahead and take about half of these out and move them next door into this other 10-gallon tank. Alright YouTube, we're going to go ahead and cut it off right there. We didn't get to everything, but in interest of time, we have to stop somewhere. Perhaps we'll talk about the rest in another video in the very near future. Maybe we'll have some of these projects completed then. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day to watch one of my videos. If you have any comments or questions, please post them down below. Hit the like button on your way out. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you consider subscribing to TM Aquatics. I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, thanks again for stopping by. And until the next one, we'll catch you all later.